Hey guys, Tyler here with Revvin Reviews. So today, I want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys think of the McLaren F1? Yeah, I know I'm starting it out kind of backwards today, but I'm kind of curious as to what you guys think about the McLaren F1 because they're coming out with a new one. Yeah, that's right. They're coming out with a new McLaren F1. McLaren Automotive has just released a couple pictures and things like that about a new F1, and I'm super excited. Like, I can't even express how excited I am. I'm just obviously on edge, ready to see this car, but I'm curious as to when it's going to come out and when it's going to be released. I know when it's going to be released. It's around 2020 because there's a guy on Instagram that was offered one, or knows of people that were offered one, and he knows that they're going to be released in 2020. So I'm excited to see what this car has in store. If you don't know much about the McLaren F1, let me give it to you right now. The McLaren F1 was released in 1992, and it was one of the most revolutionary, if not the most revolutionary cars to ever come out in car history. McLaren Automotive before 1992 had just been a racing team for Formula One, and they honestly just were just driving race cars and producing race cars from their factory, but they never had once produced a car that would be able to go on the street. But 1991 changed everything, changed the way that people looked at cars, the way that people looked at top speeds. It revolutionized everything. We made a video on McLaren turning 25 years old and them explaining how 25 years ago they released the McLaren F1, and it was just mind-blowing when that came out. And it was mind-blowing even until the early 2000s, which is insane that a car could keep that kind of a prestige for over 10 years without changing very much of it. But it was a three-seater road-going car that was basically a track focused car that was given to people to be able to drive on the road. In the early 2000s, people started to lose interest on them, so their values went down. But I'm telling you, today they are worth a lot of money. There was one that just was sold recently, $13 million. People could buy those a little while ago for under $1 million. Under $1 million. They made $13 million off of it nearly, and that's insane. So this car was a beast. It had the BMW V12 in it, and it just had a top speed of over 200 miles an hour, well over 200 miles an hour, close to 230 miles an hour, and it was just a beast. They took it and they made a track focus version of it, the McLaren F1 LM, and then they made the actual track version of it to compete in the 24-hour Le Mans. And if you guys know anything about cars, the 24-hour Le Mans is the most high intensity race that you can possibly do, and it's the most strenuous race on a car, and that really proves what kind of a car will last. The McLaren F1 ended up walking away that year with the complete victory over the entire Le Mans, because there is different races and things like that. It won first over everything, so that is crazy. Like I said, it was a three-seater. Nobody had ever seen a three-seater car that was a production car, or a production car that was released to the public. But until this day, when you could actually open the door and sit right in the middle of it, yes, right in the middle, the driver sat in the middle to drive down the road. He had the two seats right next to him that were slightly behind him, and he just was ready to focus on the road and not on his passengers. But you could bring two passengers, and that was what honestly was revolutionary. Now, today, 2017, we see that there's a new McLaren F1 coming out. They're not naming it the McLaren F1, obviously, because that would be bad. Nobody would like the name McLaren F1 because it already had a predecessor, and it would be taken away from history. But they are naming it something interesting. If you remember with the McLaren 720S, that was the car that everybody was thinking was going to be the McLaren F1 replacement. We know that there's going to be a McLaren F1 replacement, but today we know that that's obviously the McLaren 720S is not the replacement for the McLaren F1. The McLaren 720S is a replacement for the McLaren 675 LT and the 650S. It replaces all of those, but it does not replace the F1. The P1 didn't even replace the F1. The P1 was a great car, but it didn't replace the F1 in its prestige. It only had two seats. It had similar doors. It only had two seats though. But I'm telling you right now, there's a three-seater McLaren coming out. They have nicknamed it the BP23. We don't know specifics on it. Obviously, nobody knows any specifics on it. Motor Trend hasn't even published an article on it at the time that I'm recording this. But it's going to be a crazy car. In my opinion, I think the McLaren is going to take their 3.8 liter V8 in twin turbo and put that into it. They might take an engine from another manufacturer and put it in it. I'm not 100% sure. I think that it's going to be the 3.8 liter because they know that, and they're able to maximize it to its full capacity. But we're going to see what's going to happen with this. So guys, I'm so curious as to what you guys are thinking about this. What do you guys think about the McLaren BP23, and what do you guys think it's going to be selling for? What do you guys think horsepower statistics are on it? And I want to know that in the comments below or on our social media accounts. Once again, guys, our social media accounts are at Revvin Reviews. All of them. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, everything that you can think of, we have. So go ahead and follow us on all of those, and have a great day, guys.